What's up guys, Dave Nooner 1, 2, and 2, and it's almost New Year's Eve, woo! Here in New York City, it's all a hubbub with all the craziness, and there's like nowhere to park, and everyone's taking up all the good dinner reservations, so me and Kaylin I gotta go find one. That's gonna be fun. But with the end of 2016 comes the beginning of 2017, or January, which is probably when we're getting a ban list. Maybe. The ban list is a great time of year because it pretty much shakes up the format and makes things interesting again, because otherwise it's boring as fuck. And everyone's doing ban list prediction videos because that is gonna be coming up soon. However, ban list prediction videos are dumb. I can sit here and say Norton should go to 0, Strike should go to 1, Omega should go to 1. There's your ban list prediction right there. But instead I want to talk about maybe perhaps some of the cards that could come off the list. And not just the ones that are dumb like Stratos or Cyberstein. I'm talking about the controversial ones that'll really shake up the format and get everyone all pissed off. Snatch Steal taught us that Konami will take chances with unbanning certain cards, and if they end up being a super big problem, they'll just reban them. Who really cares? Sometimes this works out with things like Thousand Eyes Restrict, and other times it doesn't work out with, like I said, Snatch Steal. So that really begs the question, what cards could Konami conceivably take off the list for this, like, test slot that they always do? So I give you top 5 controversial cards that could come off the ban list. Alright, in this list I'm going to give you why it's banned, why it could be unbanned conceivably, and possibly some erratas to fix this first section. Anyway, let's get started. Cleefort Towers! Woo! It's the big boss monster Clees! Now this thing was banned for pretty much obvious reasons. This thing can only be normal summoned by sacrificing 3 Clee monsters, but who really cares? It's a pendulum deck that's extremely easy for them to get on board. And if it is, it's unaffected by spell or trap effects, and monster effects whose level or rank is less than this thing's level. Which pretty much says this is unaffected by pretty much anything except monsters that are bigger than it, which is crazy because there isn't much. To top it all off, it makes your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack and defense, which means that battle, which is the most viable way of getting rid of this thing, is a little bit harder because all your monsters are slightly weaker. And once per turn, you can make your opponent send 1 monster from the field or their hand to the graveyard, which means they're losing resources as long as this thing is on the field. They get to pick, but honestly, losing any monster anywhere is a giant deal. This thing was a nightmare to deal with. Everyone hated it. Towers Turbo format was a pain in the dick, so it got banned. However, it could conceivably be unbanned because Scouts at 1. That's pretty much my only reasoning. With Scout at 1, Clees are much more glass cannon. Sure, they can run all the back row they want, and Demise is an amazing card, but that doesn't change the fact that they get the 1 Scout, their deck gets very, very slow if they lose it, and they would need the Scout to search this thing, but Scout's got other stuff it's got to grab first. It would be okay. As for an errata, this might be the only one I don't actually give a suggestion on in this list because, frankly, it's a big old boss monster, but you can kaiju it, you can lightning it. We have outs now that we didn't quite have during that format, so I think it'd be fine the way it is. Lavalval Chain! I'm still salty about this. Lavalval Chain is a generic rank 4, and it is the tits. Once per turn, you can detach to activate 1 of its 2 effects. Send 1 card from your deck to the graveyard. That's card, not monster, not spell, not trap, just card. Mill anything. Or select 1 monster from your deck and place it on the top of your deck, so that you can presumably draw it next turn. With 1800 attack and a pretty unoffensive effect, you might think, why is this thing even banned? Well, being able to mill any card out of your deck sets up tons of stupid OTKs. It kind of enables unhealthy gameplay. However, it also enables really, really broke, dope, cool ass MF and combos that I can't do anymore because they banned this stupid thing. Pepe, which presumably would be able to abuse the crap out of this thing, is pretty much dead because half of its cards are on the ban list. And the rank 4 toolbox is slowly but surely getting power creeped out of being king. Honestly, it can put the 1 because the game has gotten so fast at this point that gimmicky OTKs are just probably not going to work, and this would help some older decks actually do some very, very, very important setup to at least even be able to make a play. And as far as an errata goes for Lavalval Chain, you could probably change the text just a little bit, and you'd prevent it from breaking the meta and actually being completely safe to come back in the TCG. And this would be change that mill effect to just spell or trap. Milling a spell or trap out of your deck is extremely useful. We don't have much that can do it, save that, crap. The one that's coming out in the next set. I don't remember what it's called. It's literally Foolish Burial for spells and traps. Or magical hats. So getting a spell or trap out of your deck into the graveyard is a big pain in the butt. In the Volval Chain, if you just did that and not monsters, you would avoid a lot of that dumb recursion and stupid graveyard floaty crap that's all the OTKs are based on. And he could even keep his top deck a monster effect because I want to play him with spirits. So I think if you do that, Volval Chain is fine. Metamorphosis! Oh, a GOAT format staple. This thing is really cool, and it's really broke. You can tribute one monster on the field and summon one fusion monster from your extra deck whose level is the same as the tributed monster. The classic would be sacrificing a GOAT token summoned by Scapegoat to summon your Thousand Eyes Restrict. With Thousand Eyes Restrict not only off the ban list but at 3 at this point in time, it seems kinda silly that Metamorphosis is still banned. Sure, cheesing out a fusion monster is really gimmicky, and there's tons of very powerful monsters like Yugioh that if you cheesed out, you're kind of breaking their summoning condition. You're like, lo, cheat. And that seems a little unfair, especially for decks that have to work so hard to get those fusion monsters out. However, you can make an argument for it to be unbanned because one, Thousand Eyes Restrict is off the list entirely, and he's probably the primary reason why it was even put there to begin with, as well as most modern broken fusion monsters contain a clause that said they can only be fusion summoned and only be fusion summoned by the proper means. So you can't gimmick out a construct or something. It's important to note this is a special summon, not a fusion summon, which is kind of the problem why it can't grab every fusion monster that's in the extra deck. The other thing you have to deal with is a lot of the broke adult fusion monsters are above level 8. And if you can get a main deck monster on the field that's above level 8, then you're probably not going to want to tribute it, and But let's just say that's too broke and there's some dumb fusion monster I'm not thinking of that's going to totally break the card. What could you do to errata it? Pretty much just have to add one more restriction to it. It already makes you have to match a level of the monster on the field to the one in the extra deck, so if you have to match attribute, let's say, that really narrows down the gimmicks you can do. Overall, I think that fixes the card. Oh, I'm gonna get so much hate in the comments for this one. Butterfly Dagger Elma. Oh, this card's the broken dope equip card, man. Instant Exodia. The reason why this card was banned was really not doing its own effect, because all it does is give the equipped monster 300 attack, and if it would be sent to the graveyard while equipped to a monster, it can add itself back to the hand. There is almost no recursion in the game that it's that recyclable, but that's not really why it was banned. It was banned because if you equip this thing to Gearfried the Iron Knight while you have a Royal Magical Library sitting next to it, you can infinitely loop this on Gearfried and acquire counters on your Royal Magical Library and just keep infinitely drawing cards, and then you just have to put Exodia in your deck, and your deck could literally be anything, and you could win by Exodia. It's a stupid, infinite draw loop, and it's dumb. Why would you be able to take this off the ban list? Well, it's searchable, which is annoying and really makes my argument much harder. However, nowadays the game is extremely fast. We have tons of back row like Solemn Strike and tons of negaty monsters like Infinity and Toad. So it'd be really difficult, at least in my head, to get a Gearfried to the Iron Knight and a Royal Magical Library on the field at the same time with absolutely nothing going off and nothing stopping it and nothing ruining your day for you to sit there and gimmick and loop this dumb spell. Sure, if you can get this thing off, more power to you, I suppose, but it's really unlikely. It's going to be extremely inconsistent, and it might get you one game at a tournament and everyone's going to hate you and you're going to quit anyway, so bleh. Even with pendulums, you get pendulum summon both of them. You got to run two bricky monsters. Like Gearfried does absolutely nothing outside of this stupid combo. And then as far as an errata is concerned, simply making it a hard once per turn, you can only activate the effect of Butterfly Dagger Elma once this turn, pretty much fixes this entire thing. And for the card, that will give me all the scorn of the YouTube's ultimate offering. Now, before you run down to the comments and clickety-clack a Gadgets Tier 0 dislikey whatever, hear me out. This card is banned for a very good reason. It's a continuous trap during your main phase or your opponent's battle phase. At the cost of 500 life points, you can normal summon one monster from your hand. This seems to lack a once per turn clause, so you can just kinda infinitely normal summon monsters as long as your hand has the resources to accommodate it. And 500 life points is not much of a cost, so you can pretty much just dump monsters. And things like gadgets that acquire advantage when summoned essentially could just make all the rank 4s. It'd be crazy. You'd spend a ton of life points, but not enough to kill yourself before making a stupid board. The card's broke, but why could it come off the list? Well, it is a continuous trap, which means it's extremely slow, and with the way the game is going now, this isn't going to be even usable pretty much till turn 3, because on turn 2, I guess if you went first, you could summon something during your opponent's battle phase to absorb an attack, I guess. But you're not going to be able to make very much advantage during your opponent's turn, so pretty much it's got to survive till your next turn, which is getting increasingly unlikely as the game is getting power creeped to death. The life point cost is a cost, even though it's not very heavy, so you could presumably kill yourself pretty easily, especially with the fact that your opponent can just OTK out of nowhere. And the decks that could really abuse it are like gadgets and ultra athletes, and frankly neither of those decks are particularly very good, so oh no, an old crappy deck broke a card, woody-doo. And things like MST can negate this by destroying it before the effect resolves, which causes the effect to fizzle, and effectively you just get nothing for it. So with all the way to bounce it and destroy it, and the fact it's got to sit there and live, it's really slow. So you could put it at 1, and it'd probably be fine. If you saw it and it lived, it'd be a blowout, but you probably would see it, 1 out of every 5 duels, so, who cares? And if you want to errata it so it makes sure it doesn't break the game and cause the Book of Revelations, a simple, hard, once per turn clause would pretty much fix it. Anyway, guys, this was a fun list to do, and I got into a bunch of arguments with Ryan and Marion when we were putting together of what we could actually put on here that's not going to just get me a bunch of hate. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think, and maybe one of your unpopular opinions on what cards could come off the list, because frankly, this is more of a discussion video than a list video. Anyway, guys, I'm really interested to hear what you have to say down in the comments below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, guys, if you don't troll the meta, who will? I'll see you guys next year.